Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast where we try to figure it all out with your hosts, Brandon and Collin. On this week's show, Random Rock Rambling. Ahoy!
Oh my gosh, ahoy!
I have been unwell.
That's right. Dear listeners, we apologize for coming to you late this week, but Collin has barely survived illness. And so
Oh my gosh.
This is the first day he's been able to speak. So
Yep.
There you go. That's fun.
It's been fun, or not just been completely blown out, exhausted by 4. I just completely ran out of gas, and that was even with a midday nap sometimes. Oh my gosh, it just completely took it out of me. So anyway, yes, I am the rumors of my death were a bit premature, and
yes. Hey, you're stealing my quote of the week. Wait a second.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry.
No, not really. That's just a bonus Mark Twain quote of the week. The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Yes. Yes. I feel like I tell that to people a lot. Like over the summer, whenever I had to disappear for a month at a time to do, take care of visits and stuff, I basically hey, yeah, I'm going to meet with you every week to do this thing. And then it was Collin, you don't hear from him for a little while. And then he pops back up. He's like, anyway, let's start doing the thing again. So,
that is a good Mark Twain one. Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
No, it is. So, anyway, yeah. So things have been happening. Stuff, I guess. But yeah, we've just been trying to survive. I have not felt, and what really did me in was I started to get sick, and then I had nothing but social events, right?
Oh no,
2 days in a row.
Oh no, double no.
On the same day last week, we opened with a chamber breakfast that we had sponsored, and I gave a 15-minute talk in front of 170 people or whatever. And then exactly 12 hours later, we were at a fundraiser event that we had also sponsored and needed to be there. And I crashed hard. We just had all these commitments that it was we have to do the thing. And I was body can't do thing. No, it's not possible anymore. So.
Yeah, it's true. Trying to power through extreme illness is definitely has its downsides, right? Where it's oh, I'm fine, and then just nope, not fine at all. Zap, gone.
Yeah. Where all of a sudden it is so weird where you have it feels like you have the same energy reserves because you feel oh, I am energetic, I am well rested, but you gas out so quickly.
It doesn't last as long.
Doesn't last as long, and then you end up just oh no, that was
It's true. I think in video game terms, what happens is your stamina bar depletes too fast, right? It's you have a status ailment. Boom. There you go.
Yes.
Not me playing a lot of video games. Unrelated. Unrelated.
Completely.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting. But yeah, we're kind of back on the upswing and have a new addition, maybe.
They say in the midst of all of this, right? In the midst of all of the recovering, finding a new friend.
Oh my gosh!
I like listeners. The way that I was introduced to this topic, right? I want to read you this direct quote from my brother here. And look, he sent me a picture of this thing that he found. Hanging out in a random front yard chewing on a rabbit? What?
Yeah.
What an introductory sentence. What on earth?
Yeah. So
So many questions.
in the midst of trying to get me better, like you run into that area where it's going, I want to do nothing but lay here and waste away. But also I know that if I do that, like I'm not going to get better. Like I do need some sunshine. I do need to get up and move a little bit. And so we took a family walk through around our block again. We walked out our front door, and the walk generally takes about 13 minutes on a good day. So
mega far.
Mega far. We reached the halfway point, and we stopped at the intersection because we have to look left and right. And we looked to our right, and we saw no cars coming. We looked to our left. We saw no cars coming. But we did see a little tiny, tiny puppy sitting in somebody's front yard going to town on a dead rabbit.
Is shocking to say the least, right? This is what
I was like, and we stared at it. And dear listeners, this is like from all outsets, a 3-month-old purebred corgi. And it is just sitting there in this front yard, hamming on this rabbit. And I look at Megan, and Megan looks at me, and we're like, what is that? And we're looking around, right? I'm looking for the owner who's sitting on a porch. This happens all the time over where we live. The owners just sit on the porch and let their dog do the thing. Nope. Nobody around. I'm talking out loud. I'm walking around this home. Dog is just sitting there hanging out, eating a rabbit. I go over and I just kind of kneel down a little bit. The dog runs over, scampers to me, and jumps in my arms. And I'm like, oh, first, how cute, but also, oh, you smell like dead rabbit. That was a bad choice.
Oh no.
So now I'm holding a really adorable fuzzy thing that smells like a carcass, and I'm like, oh no, choices, Collin. And then I look over at Megan, and she's looking at me with these eyes that are wide, and I just go like in my head, I go, am I doing this? Is this doing a thing? So I go up to the house that was in the front yard, and I bang on the door. I ring the doorbell. The problem is it's 8:15 in the morning. And
yeah. So maybe gone already. And not really going to be around, but no movement. And I'm left here. I'm going, well, I can't just leave this little puppy just hanging out. I cannot do that. And so we walk it back to our house, take a picture, post it all over on social media, contact everybody we can, letting them know we have it with, general address, and nothing. We have found and rehomed, I don't know, a dozen dogs. I'm just going to say 100 dogs. I don't know. That's probably a little bit overshot. Maybe
but
that might be a bit of overreach, but it's a lot. It is a non-insignificant number, right? It's quite a lot that's happened to you. This happens to you all the time. This is very weird.
That's the other thing. And I didn't realize it must be some weird vortex going on here, because when we first moved into our home, I don't know if I told you this, but I looked in our mailbox, and it's just a flat mailbox, an upright mailbox that's kind of an
on the porch, Mimi's mailbox, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's just a little bit deeper. Hers was kind of wide and shallow. This is a bit deeper and narrower. But anyway, yeah, you flip it open, and when we moved in, I just kind of glanced down in there, and I saw a random rope thing, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. I just shut it because I was incurious at the time. Yeah. Eventually, I got curious enough, and I reached down into that. And when we moved in, the owner prior to us kept a slip lead in her mailbox. That is how many dogs. Right. That's a lot of dogs.
That is a lot of dogs.
So we have done this whole rigmarole so many times. And
do you keep a slip lead in your mailbox?
It is still there. The original person's slip lead is still there as an homage to them, because we use it all the time now as well. So again, I'm used to stepping out and being like, stray dog, going on a walk, having a dog follow us home, us posting pictures, us taking it, driving it places, as rescues reach out. Literally nobody wants this dog. Nobody has reached out. Nobody has said, oh, I think that's my neighbor's. I think this is somebody's. I've seen that dog before. It's 3 months old. It can't go very far. It didn't come from miles away. People were like,
no.
The only comment we had was oh, I think you need to post in this place. It's a county away. And I'm like, no.
Although I
not
have
how
seen Homeward Bound, so
true. I do believe the dog's legs in Homeward Bound were also a bit longer than this one.
That's true. But there was a cat.
Oh, true.
Hmm?
Yes.
Whose name I can't remember, but there was a cat.
Yes.
And thanks to Linda at cinemacats.com, we know exactly what kind. Anyway,
do.
sorry.
So I took we like have the dog now, right? And we're just like, well, like a couple things. Like we honestly need to be prepared to have somebody contact us after this gets shared around and matriculated through, saying, "Oh, that's actually my dog. I need it." But in the meantime, like we just have to keep the dog, right? And we had just had a conversation with the director of the city shelter, who was like, "We have no more room. I can't keep dogs. We're turning them away. We've come, super, super close to having put down dogs this year, which hasn't happened in a long time. So like they're full, every rescue's full, but like we were gonna hold on to this dog. And so this morning, like we had to go out and buy food, get some treats. The dog is like also potty trained already, kind of.
What? Yeah, that's pretty wacky. Like,
yeah. And we took it to the vet this morning and scanned for the chip and no microchip. And so the vet was like, congratulations on your new dog. And I was like, oh, God dang it. So yeah, we had to have a discussion as a family of like
what do we do?
Yeah, like, are we ready for this? Like,
that's true.
That's
true.
Is
like
your
emotionally,
heart is your heart ready for this? Because gotta be honest, like, this wasn't on my 2024 bingo card. Like, not, I gotta be real. Like, was not on my bingo card. And the kids were like, yes, obviously.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
What are you talking about? So
I can imagine the kids. There's only one answer here, Dad. Yes.
What do we kind of already have the dog. So what's the point of this conversation?
Also true.
Yes.
You could try harder to.
Yeah, we're still going to leave everything out there, right? We're still going to, have the posts and keep people in contact. But yeah, so we booked a new client consultation or whatever for the vet tomorrow, because again, like, well, we've got to know what we're dealing with, because
that's true. Yeah,
just like the things run through my head. Did somebody literally get this dog like last week and is just like fed up with it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this? Did somebody let him out in the morning and have her and then go back and fall asleep and then just never worried about it after that? But it was like, we're coming up on over 48 hours at this point. Like, that'd be weird. Was somebody traveling and had a family member watching this dog, and the family member is too embarrassed to say that they lost it, and so they're not speaking up? Or like, what goes my head goes, or did they just go and get their blood panels and their fecal samples and tests and do all that stuff? And did they just learn that this dog has like $3,000 worth of vet bills coming because of its medical condition, and they just kicked it out the door? I don't know. So,
yeah,
right. We're trying to do all this. And so we sat with the kids and we're like, okay, well, we need to go to PetSmart, pet store here, and get some stuff. So we went shopping, and Noah really wanted to get the dog a puzzle. It's like, we need
okay, it was baby steps here. We got
so we have a puzzle.
Oh, okay. Well, then, never mind. Good choice, Noah. That's what I meant to say. Good job.
But yeah, so that's been wild. And what's crazy about this, it's so funny. Last Wednesday, the local chamber reached out to us and they said, hey, we just had somebody drop off a bunch of dog harnesses. We don't know who to give them to, so could you use them in your business? And we were like, oh, sure, cool, that's fine. And they were like, weird thing, there's 5 of them, they're all bright pink and they're all small. And I was like, yeah, that is kind of weird. I don't know what on earth we're going to do with these things. Turns out, these perfectly fit the stray dog.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That's
That's pretty great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I also I also had just had a conversation with the shelter, and they have been saying, so we were kind of on the like a conversation of a cat had come up periodically. And so but we need to be hypoallergenic.
Yeah.
But those are kind of hard to come by. And we were talking with the shelter lead, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, we just had a breeder shut down their whole organization thing, and it's a complete mess. She surrendered 30 hypoallergenic, kind of these like mountain forest cats." And I was
Holy
like,
cow.
I was like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, the Siberian cats. Yeah, Siberians. And he was like, yeah, I just don't know what we're going to do with these. And so literally a day ago on Friday, we talked with this guy. We found the dog on Sunday. I think in my message I said Saturday. So we're still really fresh into this. But anyway, like on Friday, we talked with him and I go, oh, well, I started scheming. I was like, well, what I need to do is figure out how to get one of these hypoallergenic forest cats in our house. Because I think that's the direction we need to go. And I had this like whole game plan of like, first, we're going to turn in our volunteer forms that have been sitting in our fridge for a couple months. And then we're going to go volunteer to take care of these 30 kittens that they're working with. And I'm going to have a conversation with Megan. I'm going to be like, Megan, how are your allergies? And she's going to be like, oh, it's weird. I don't experience these at all. And I'm going to be like, oh, that's crazy. You don't experience allergies with these cats at all?
Isn't that nuts?
That's wild. And then we were going to slowly pivot to fostering a cat in our home. And then we're going to keep the cat. And that was my like 6-month plan.
Yeah.
Kind
the
of
universe has accelerated your plan. That's one thing.
Oh.
It said, hello, how about this random rabbit eating dog?
Yep. She's just the sweetest little thing too. She's a 3-month-old puppy and plays. I'm just like, okay.
And speedy, we know that. She's swift. That's what we know.
Yes, a swift and speedy,
swift little mini herding dog, right?
Yes, that's the other thing too. Of we were having those discussions of, oh, by the way, this dog is a herding dog by nature, not a hurting dog.
Yeah.
So you may walk quickly. The dog is not going to like that, and is going to want to bring you back into the fold.
That's true.
So we have had those conversations because the dog is already like, we'll be in the family room together, sitting talking, and one of us will stray, right, and get away from the flock or the herd, and then
does it come get
you? Thankfully, we are gently, somewhat guided back,
coaxed
under the
duress,
and the professional auspices of a tiny shark.
It is true. It is. They are very funny little dogs, right? It's kind of a like when you first learn that a corgi is a herding dog, your brain kind of goes, "Wait, what? Are you serious right now?" But right, makes sense because, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but like it's interesting the plan here, right? Because they're cattle herding dogs. But the reason they're so low is so the cows kick over their heads and don't hit them.
Yes.
Right? This is the most bizarre plan of all time, right? And they're like, no. Instead of like other kinds of dogs, what if we had a low dog? like so low that the cow couldn't kick it, and it just went whoosh right over its back.
It is so bizarre because you're right. You go, here's the plan. We're going to have a dog that herds these animals, these cows, but the cows are not going to like that. They're not going to like that at all. They're going to, matter of fact, they're going to kick, which would kill a normal dog. But right, like we're going to literally have them come under the radar.
Yeah.
There's not even a
stealth mode.
Stealth mode. Literally, the B2 bombers here coming in, boom, lightning fast. And the cow's not going to know what's going to hit them. They just know they need to move because something is angry. Right?
Yeah. Swooping in to herd the cow.
So yes, we have been, it has been a very, very interesting last couple days for us as we're making these adjustments. And also now, it's also weird, right? Because again, this wasn't in the plan. This wasn't in the game. Like we had no idea. And we have like travel and stuff planned coming up and a few like little getaways and things. And like, okay, yeah, like now like back to planning and coming around that. Not like a burden kind of thing, but just like, oh, that we've got to remember that. Like we've got to take care of this first and foremost instead of just, disappearing for 11 hours a day. Like, it's kind of not okay.
If only you knew some people who could.
Yeah, I know. If only I knew, but yeah. Also, like, I'm really busy, and so
that's true.
I don't want to add too much to our people's plates, but also,
like
kind of, because we did that a couple times. When we traveled to some conferences, we did have our employees come over, and obviously, for legal purposes, we did pay them, and everything was up, setting like whatever. But like, that we had to go through that process, and I had to have them come over and walk through our home and see where everything is, and do the meet and greet. And then I remember, like, halfway through me talking, I was like, "Oh no, we're definitely one of those pet parents. Like, we're definitely one of those pet owners. Like, and I actually turned to him. I was like, I'm really sorry, but here is like 3 things that I need you to know.
Yeah, remember those crazy people I told you about in your orientation? Hi, it's me. Let's talk.
Yep. Remember those ones I told you to like call me before you agreed to anything? That's me. Like I'm the one that we have to screen before we take on anything.
But I've already talked to me, so it's fine.
Yeah, so we're fine. You can move forward with this. So anyway, yeah, it's just been that's been wild because we were planning to go out do a quick trip for some birthdays and stuff. So anyway, that's coming up. So they got it under their craw that they wanted to see a baseball game. So we're trying to plan. So yes, so we
or do they just want the peanuts and Cracker Jacks?
Well, so they don't know about that yet. I don't think. I don't think we've rehearsed the song. So maybe that's some homework. We
definitely have to do that homework before you go to a baseball game.
Well, and so like I was like, oh, okay. Well, the Kansas City Royals are an hour and 20 minutes. No, we need to go to the other team across the state that's 3.5 hours away.
I was gonna say this is the ultimate. This is an important decision in their early baseball fandom. This is a monumental task as a Missouri citizen, right? Which baseball team is going to be the first game?
Indeed.
Right? This is a big one, right?
Yes.
We got two big ones. As many people in Missouri will definitely let you know, right? You can tell what part of the state someone is from by who they root for. But but it's very interesting. It's a very interesting conundrum. So was this decision influenced in any way by perhaps a former St. Louis resident that you know? Maybe.
Well,
hypothetically,
I think that certainly helped the cause, but also we're in this weird pocket where, interestingly, while the town is closer to the Royals, I think as a population goes, they are definitely more Cardinals fanatics.
Yeah.
There's definitely more of those around.
Now,
And
really, the Royals fandom shifts a lot more Kansas heavy.
Kansas heavy.
Right.
Yes.
It does.
Cardinals are going to pretty big the bread and butter of most people in the Missouri side. So so that's been most of the influence. So when the option came up, it was determined to travel across the state. So we are now trying to plan that. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh right, like that's games are really long, and
True.
like also it's really far away, so it's not a day trip. Nope, can't be a day trip. So we got to do it overnight. So now,
but luckily, they play about 190 games a year. So surely there's one that you can fit.
Oh, yeah.
Fit into the schedule.
It's going to be fine, right? Like it's just like all of a sudden going.
It's regular season games. International listeners, baseball is insane. I don't know why they play so many games.
Well, so we actually did find one where we wanted to go, and I logged on to the Major League Baseball thing on the website, and I went to all the processes, and I could not buy the tickets. I tried 7 times. I tried different browsers, and I tried I even like went into private browsing mode. I even at one point switched off the Wi-Fi from my laptop and tethered to my cell phone. I then just tried my cell phone with 2 different browsers. Nothing on the Major League Baseball website would allow me to purchase these tickets. So
weird.
I would like, and it kept saying, we've encountered an error. Go back to seat selection. That's all it said. So here's what I would like to tell you. Here's the process of buying tickets for a Major League Baseball game as it stands of yesterday. First, you have to go to the App Store and download not the Major League Baseball app, but the Major League Baseball. Oh, what's it called? Oh my gosh, I'm so angry that my brain is preventing me from remembering this. It's called the MLB Ballpark app. Okay. It looks like a scam because it looks like a slight knockoff of the Major League Baseball.
That does sound scammy. Right. Like, not going to lie.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, this is the one where you spend money. Yeah, definitely this one. Not the one with the name brand recognition and the cool looking logo. This one. You're like, okay. So you have to download that one. I tried doing it without a guest account. That did not work. So I had to create an actual account with Major League Baseball. I then tried to just enter my card information directly into the form. That would not work. So I had to go into the wallet portion of the app, add a card directly, and then I could check out after I have downloaded a very specific sketchy app, created an account, added my card to a weird looking wallet thing. I could then give them money. They then gladly accepted my money for the
baseball.
game.
Why are you making it so hard to take people's money? This is like, what the heck, man?
I was to the point where today I was going to be calling the ticket office and asking them to please let me spend money with them. I was going to be talking. I was planning on talking with a human today. That's the extent that we were trying to, like, this was failing. And I was just like, no.
That's crazy. Like, what the heck? Come on, baseball. What are you doing?
Anyway, what's been going on with you?
Oh, not a lot, really. Also, listeners, I slightly overspoke. 162 Major League Baseball games in the regular season. Right. So regular season, 162 games. What the heck?
I know, right?
Anyway, yeah, that's insane, right? Even the cricket fans are like, what? Why? Why is it so much?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yeah, not a lot. Just sort of doing school stuff, like in school mode officially.
Oh yeah.
So like trying to navigate things, right? We did our first quiz the other day, right? Just kind of hammered that one out. Nothing, not like a big giant one or anything. Started like mainline science things, trying to think about like changing up some stuff. So I'm trying to see if I have time to do that or try to figure out the actual logistics of, can I make this relatively crazy idea actually happen? Do I have the materials necessary, or can I find them? Right, like these kind of things. So, yeah, we're just kind of getting in the swing of things, trying to figure out stuff. Right. I did have a conversation today with one of the high school teachers. She's like the fax teacher, right? I think is what they call it now, right? And she's doing like a kind of like a class about like education, right? So like
Okay.
for like people that want to be teachers, right?
Sure.
And so she needed people to like have like places where students could come in and observe classes, right?
Okay.
You know, so she's kind of like in the spring semester. She said if the kids want, they can actually do this like dual enrolled for like one of the early education classes, the one where you just have to go and like observe like so many hours in a classroom.
Oh, cool.
They can actually get college credit for that if they want to. And so
nice.
like I've had people come and do that in my class before. So I just went and talked to her because she sent emails like I was on the list of people that she had like heard might be okay for this. And I was like, all right, well, I have some questions. And I'm not good at asking questions in email. So I just jogged down to the high school and talked to her for a little bit. And I was basically just going like, all right, look, things you may not know about me. A lot of my science class is like rambling discussions about rocks. Is that okay? Is that good enough for what you actually want these kids to do, right? Because it's a lot of talking about random stuff and then like random experiments and breaking stuff. That's what my science class is kind of like. And if
it is true,
you're going to come in, I just want to make sure that you're okay with that, right? That's what, right? Not heavy on certain things that other subjects like to do in their class, right? So, but they're going to like rotate through certain teachers if they, if they can get enough people to say yes.
Oh, sure.
So like to be like the mentor teachers or whatever. So somehow I have ended up on a potential mentor teacher list. I don't know how that happened. That's cool. Completely by accident. I don't know who gave her this plan, but that's what.
Well, that's fun. So what's the age group of people that you're going to be working with?
Is high school students.
High school students.
So it's like for one of the classes. So I think they're I don't know exactly who they are yet. She didn't tell me. There's a couple of them are seniors, so it's probably like juniors and seniors, I would imagine. I don't know. It could be other people. I don't know, but it's high school students. So this is one of her classes that she's doing. She put together this whole thing. She was telling me she like wrote this grant, and they can do all this like crazy stuff, and it sounds really cool, right? So I was like, heck yeah, let's go. As long as you're okay with your students observing me being random and that's okay with you, let's go. Like I'm
before I leave, I need to be crystal clear. You're okay. And I should probably get this in writing, if possible. Random rock rambling is perfectly acceptable. Okay.
Yeah. Right. That's fine with you. Today, here's a good example of my life today. Today, we're talking about the layers of the earth, as one does, right? Talking about how we know about those layers of the earth and how the fact that there are these layers of the earth prove the earth is round. Checkmate, Elon Musk. Boom, take that. So anyway, one good analogy when you're talking about layers of the earth is, of course, the egg, the incredible edible egg, right? Because if you just imagine, you have to do a little bit of imagination, like add the inner core in there, right? But otherwise, the egg is a very good example because you have the crust, right? The shell, the asthenosphere, the membrane inside the shell, right? The yolk, and the egg white, right? Well, rather, the white is the mantle, and then the yolk as both the inner/outer core, right? So, especially if you think about like a hard-boiled egg, the analogy works much better because now you can cut it and you can see the thing. So I had a bunch of slides that are goofy and they have like cut eggs and they're equating these things, right? And so we start talking about eggs, right? And I got very strong reactions, right, about eggs. They were like,
Really?
I don't like eggs. What do you mean? I love eggs. They started arguing in class about egg preferences.
I'm sorry.
So I stopped and I grabbed a note card and I said, all right, it is officially time for a formal survey. I need to know right now. We're going to survey the whole 6th grade. I need to know. Are you talking about eggs like this? Are you an egg white person? Do you like the egg yolk? Do you like the whole egg? Or do you not like eggs at all? And I need to know this information right now. So what I did was I collected all of this data and then graphed my results on the board so that they could see the spread of egg preferences for 6th grade science students. I think it's what I called my graph. Very sciencey name, right? Boom, right? So this is what I did today. Right.
And I can see you coming back down to the person's office going, and to be clear, this is fine, right? Like I did.
Yeah, this is okay.
I did an egg survey.
I did this. I can explain my reason, right? I did this because, right, one thing, interpreting and reading graphs is a very, very important science like standard.
Oh, yeah.
It is on like every science test ever. So that's important. Number 2, right? We have only a couple times in the year where we can like make graphs, right, for science class. So, and last year, as one of my side quests, I had them create a survey and then graph their results, right? And so I was thinking today, it's like, wait, I can expose them to more graphs and random questions like this just sort of throughout the year. If I could come up with just some more of these to do a few times, by the time they get to, I think I did it in January last year. It was right after Christmas break. We came back and that was our first one, like our easing back in. I was like, if I can expose them to this a little bit more throughout the year, maybe it will make the project in January make more sense to them.
Right.
Because they will have seen this idea before. Right. Other than just like the one other time that the couple times that we do it for like a science experiment, right? If we can put it in this context, right? The context I'm going to ask them to do in the future, they'll be more comfortable with this idea and it might help them later, even though. So right now they're just sort of like looking at it and seeing that it exists, but they don't like know exactly about it, but they'll have observed it before. And then it'll make the conversation make more sense when we talk about it later on.
Yeah.
This is my thought process.
Well, right. and it's something that like they like, how am I going to say this? Like, it's really low stakes, but also like they have direct tie-in into this. Cause I think what gets really hard about getting data and interpreting data is when it has nothing to do with you. Right. I think that gets very difficult because
exactly.
You have no conceptual understanding on basis or where things are or relationships to one another. Like now that I'm externalizing all of this relevancy and I have no connection to it, that's where it tends to get loose connection and it's hard to interpret a graph because we don't see ourselves in it. And so being able to start kind of weaning off of that or like really strengthening that initial exposure, I think that sounds like it'd be really good.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Plus, it gives me an excuse to write overly long science titles on things, which is like a joke that I like to do. I just like to do that because I think it's hilarious. Because I enjoy reading science titles of certain papers, right, with like overly long and like hyper specific things, and I like to do that on my graphs for the class because I think it's funny. So give me another excuse to do that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I was doing today. So I'm doing that and planning a side activity, right? Our pumpkin launching activity is going quite well.
Oh,
this year, right?
Okay.
My first side quest of the year because it is fall and I'm trying to will fall to happen like really bad.
Yeah.
Right? is the first one we do is pumpkin chunkin.
Oh, sure.
Right. So I have these like stuffed pumpkins that I got. Susan actually got me some more from the Dollar General the other day or whatever.
Oh, what?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Perfect. More backup pumpkins. And I just have these like bins of stuff. Right. I'm like, hey, make something to throw a pumpkin far. Go. And that's what
That's amazing.
to have like some PVC pipe and some dowel rods and some like of the big fat craft sticks and like twine and yarn and tape. And I do have a couple rubber bands that I let them use. And so they just kind of go to town. And then they get mad that somebody's copying them. But there's really only like 3 or 4 answers anyway. So I don't really know why they get so mad about that. Right. But it's going quite well. They seem to be enjoying it so far. So, and I have the longest throw in history currently. Somebody built this thing. They launched my little stuffed pumpkin 40 feet down the hallway.
What?
Yeah. What? I was not even expecting that to happen. Like,
That's insane.
yeah, they built this slingshot thing, right? It's like they did the step that no one else ever does. Well, I also have a random pile of cardboard that you can use like at all times. That's just the thing. But they did the step that no one ever does. They made the little fork thing by lashing together some PVC pipe. Right. They used a couple rubber bands, but they cut out a piece of cardboard to act as the seat in the slingshot. Right? Nobody ever does this step. Nobody does this step ever. They just string a rubber band across it and try to like awkwardly squeeze the pumpkin and the rubber band and pull it back and let it go. So you're losing there's a lot of energy loss in this system.
Yeah.
Right? These kids made a seat out of cardboard. And the first attempt, they were like aiming at the floor. I don't think they really knew what was happening. And so it didn't go very far at all. But then a couple days later, they tried again. And this thing sailed down the hallway. It's like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Nice.
So that was pretty good. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. So. You gotta give something to have resist. To resist against and push
against. To sit it in there so that the force gets transferred. More of the energy from the rubber band gets transferred to the pumpkin. Right. The thing that always happens, the thing they always mess up is they just like will run the rubber band across and like try to like pinch it. Like they put their hand behind it and like pinch the sides and try to pull it back. But like you're losing so much because it can't push against anything when it goes forward. Right. You only have this little tiny strip of rubber band pushing the pumpkin forward and nothing happens. And so there's just so much energy loss. And so these people put a seat in there, which is the game-changing feature of the slingshot. I do have a couple really good catapults too, right? I should probably do like actual pumpkin chunking and like make some classes, right? Like, oh, in this category, you got
sure.
Like have the slingshot category, the catapult category. And I do have one group that has manufactured some sort of piston, which I'm very excited to see how this works. They haven't tested it yet. They basically they took a PVC pipe and then they took some of my dowel rods and they made a piston that slides in there.
Oh.
And they built a little seat thing on the end with a plunger. And their plan is to just hold it and then just like smack the bottom and like launch. So I want to see this work in action. I need to see.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's just cool. This is awesome.
That is really intense.
It's really neat looking. And I just want to see it work because I think with some fine tuning and some correct angle holding that thing could go quite far. So
sure.
I need to see this in action. Like they've been sort of futzing with it, trying to get the basket so that the pumpkin can sit there so they can tip it over at a deeper angle because they just had like a top thing, right? But so when they tried to lay it down to lay it sideways horizontally to launch the pumpkin, it like fell off. So they've been like building a little seat out of craft sticks and tape to like hold it until they can hit it with the plunger. So I need to see this happen because I'm very curious.
Nice. Yeah.
So it has the potential to go quite far. We'll see how it actually happens, but I think it could be cool. So that's what I've been up to. Random science and apparently volunteering to have high school children come in and be like teacher students in my classroom. So that'd be good. Be cool.
Very nice.
The other reason I had to go talk to her was because I was also like, some days, right? Because some days are just discussing and like taking notes and doing things. Like some days, there's not anything for them to do.
Yeah.
So like, if they're looking for like a super active classroom experience, maybe not every day is going to be what they want. I mean, I don't know. I'll probably find a place for them to help do stuff, but like, I just want to make sure that's okay with you.
Yeah, making sure that you have expectations set for like, or if they're needing to meet like, I don't know, like a certain number of observation hours with a certain number of
like hands-on activity things. Like we can throw some random things in there, right? We can do that, but I just need to know. The beginning of the year, they're a little bit light because we're still trying to do some stuff. So, and also the plate tectonics unit, not the most exciting, right? I understand this, but kind of can't have the rest of geology class without the plate tectonics unit. It's kind of a big deal, right?
Makes it hard.
Like, convection and tectonic plates moving. That's it's kind of a big deal. So, right, like we need to we got to get that out there first. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing this week. Right.
Oh, nice.
That and of course, reading.
Yes.
King Arthur's Court.
We found ourselves in an awful predicament, didn't we?
We did indeed. Right. Not good. It's going badly. Right, we are jailed. Right. We have been jailed for our attempting escape as a slave, and
we have been jailed with some impossible sleep coming on.
Yes. Right. Couldn't rest because it's in the jail. Right. And it's all terrible in there because jail. Right. And so he's trying to figure out how on earth does a person get out of jail again. Yet again. This is pretty ridiculous, right? So we have this farcical trial thing happening, right? Again, we have more of this stuff going on here, and can't sleep in the thing, and he does get. Let's see, how's this happen here? He has him call Camelot and ask for Clarence. He's like, "How do we prove what's happening?" He's like, "Yo, call him, do the thing. You go, call him up. It's fine. We'll do it." Right. This is his plan because he's out of touch. Right. He wants to do these things, but they don't haven't trained up some of these people on telephone and telegraph. Right. And so he's trying to figure out what to do. So it's not going well. And we have this issue of like, he thinks a thing is going to last a certain amount of time and it actually is going to happen much sooner. So there's like panic that he's not going to make it. Right. That's sort of what's happening here. He's saying like, if I can just wait till this time, they'll surely be here from Camelot by then to save me. And they're like, oh, it's actually going to be at this time. He's like, there's no way they can make it from Camelot to save me.
Yes. He quickly realizes that he's really in a bad way.
Yeah. So he's he's really in a bad way. He's really kind of freaking out about this, right? He is about to be executed, right? But then, dun, 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 timing, right? As we
We have found it.
so that's pretty much the chapter, right? It's just him sort of waiting around, being in peril. And then, right? Do you have anything to add for that chapter?
No,
It's just
really
pretty straightforward and like, blah.
Yep, it really was a lot of him like, kind of like a lot of hurry up and waiting, but also just like, I sick. I said no more. It wasn't anything to say. Like, well, yeah. Anyway, he was
sort of
kind of
building
getting ready to face
tension.
this, right? Face what was going to go happen.
Yeah. So he tries to get a message out to Clarence. He tries to do this stuff, but he's worried about the timing, right? Oh, I should, that's the big issue here is the timing is off and he doesn't think that he's going to make it, right? Then he's talking about, then there's some more talk about like the laws and how they're kind of like wonky and like what the heck is going on here. But yeah, so there's no way the knights couldn't arrive in time, right? That's what the last paragraph here, it starts. The fact is, I did need to lean upon somebody. My knights could not arrive in time. They would be as much as 3 hours too late. Nothing in the world could save the King of England, nor me, which was more important. Which, again, classic Hank, right? This, nothing could save the king or me, who is far more important, right? Right? Not merely me. Not. I like this next sentence too. He says, more important, not merely to me, but to the nation.
The nation, right?
The only nation on earth ready to blossom into civilization. And this is what he's mad about. He's mad about that him dying will not be good for England at this moment. It's very inconvenient.
It's
them
really
standing on the precipice of industrial revolution. He cannot die here because, it'll be bad for everyone else.
And they're depending on him. This is going to make their lives better if he's around. Gosh darn it! So why isn't this? This isn't fair.
Yeah. So that is where we leave that one. Yes. However, he has once again not fully understood the situation because quite possibly one of the most ridiculous sentences I've ever read in my entire life is coming.
Oh,
right. So let me set the scene, dear listeners. We have Sir Lancelot and his knights to the rescue. Right?
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong, right? So he is up there, blindfolded. The hangman has unslung his rope, right? The person in front of him goes, right, and is hung. And then there's going down the line, right? It's like those movies, like they just go down the line, they're just hanging people, shaglap, shablap, right? But he is next. I was shaking with fear, right? He's terrified. He's scared. He's ready. He's next up in line to face death. And then, just as the noose is being placed around his head, right? By George, here they came. 500 mailed and belted knights on bicycles. What is happening? What is going on? My book has, like I said, these illustrations, right? I'm about to send you the illustration for this page. It's hysterical because it is definitely just a person in armor on a penny farthing bike. Like, what in the world is going on?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he says, what he say? He goes, the grandest sight that ever was seen.
Yes. Right. Lord, how their plumes streamed, how the sun flamed and flashed from the endless procession of webby wheels. Yeah, it was what? What on earth?
Oh my gosh!
Right, and so Lancelot comes. He says, he starts yelling at everybody, "This is the king!" Right? Blam, and then they like actually believe him because earlier the king was like saying, "I'm the king," and they all laughed at him. Right, because they're like, "You're about to be executed. You clearly can't be the king because kings don't become executed." Duh. Right. Obviously, right? Don't tell that to the French Revolution. Never mind. But yeah, right. Right. So, well, he said, there really is something peculiarly grand about the gait and bearing of a king after all, right? Immensely satisfied was he to see that, here we go. And the icing on the cake, right? Clarence himself comes and says, "Hey, what's up? I thought you'd like my little surprise."
I had the boys practicing a long time privately. They wanted to show off.
It's just like what?
I'm sorry.
Just hiding this one, keeping this one under wraps for later, right? Knights on bicycles. This is the best.
It looks in that photo that you sent like there's genuinely nothing regal about this. There's like, if you just think of it from
it's hilarious.
What's absolutely just hilarious. Yeah.
It's great. So yeah, that's what's happening here.
We end on that. We start off with a sentence that's, not start off, but this very, very short chapter of, knights on bicycles, and they just wanted a chance to show off. So here we are. Congratulations.
Yeah. So we did. And now, right, most of my thoughts on this reading this week come from this next chapter because this chapter is actually insane. Right? What on earth? Right? We come to chapter 39. Excuse me. The Yankees fight with the Knights. Oh boy. Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Right. So cast your mind all the way back to the beginning of this book. Right? Sir Sagamore, right, had challenged Hank to a duel. But then he had to go off a grayling. Right? But he's back. Right? Right? And it was also, a great...
that was the other thing. Time in this book is kind of non-existent as well. Like,
it's implied that quite a long time has passed to get to this point, right?
Yeah,
I think at some point we fast forwarded at least once, several, like a non-insignificant amount of time in the interim.
Well, right? And I remember when he had to go a grayling, there was a statement of like, well, that takes a really long time, so he won't be back for a while. Like,
yeah.
And how funny is it that he's been so worried about timing and making sure things match up, and that he can like come out of this and to have this kind of event come back upon him.
Yes. Right. We've actually been teased this event for a very long time. Right. Turns out since the very opening of the book, right, we have been here. Right. We have a Chekhov's gun situation happening. We have two literary devices of great import in this chapter. Right. So first off, we have Chekhov's gun, which we'll come back to in a minute. But yeah, so we have this. I did like the line. It was not because the tournament was a great matter, and it was not because Sir Sagamore had found the Holy Grail, for he had not, but had failed. And it was not.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But there was a lot of. He's talking about how there's so much interest in this tournament because, as we know, tournaments are a dime a dozen, and you can just have tournaments all the time. It's no big deal, right? But this tournament actually is secretly a duel between two mighty magicians. Not a duel of muscle, but of mind. Not of human skill, but of superhuman arts and craft. The final struggle for supremacy between the two master enchanters of the age. Right? Because Sir Sagamore has Merlin in his corner. Right? And so he is weaving all manner of spells and whatnot upon his person and weapons and armor and such. right? And so this is not seen just as a duel between Sir Sagamore and Hank, but of course between Hank and Merlin.
Mm-hmm.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I mean, he goes on about imbuing Sir Sagamore's arms and armors with supernatural offense, right?
Yeah,
So that
like making him invisible, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing, right? So that's what he like. Even like, yeah, he's making a big deal. Like he makes him invisible to not to everybody, obviously, only his opponent, clearly, right? Because it's not a very good tournament if he's invisible to everyone. Duh, right? Let's obviously.
No.
So everything is destroyed, and Hank is fighting not to just defeat Sir Sagamore, but to destroy knight errantry as a whole. Right? His quest on this whole journey has been, ironically, to prove that knight errantry is dumb and a waste of time.
Yeah.
For some reason, he proceeded to do this by going on nightly errands, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there.
No. Right? Don't speak such things.
But I think part of the commentary here is that like Twain is saying like, yeah, these stories are kind of dumb. Look, here's Hank going all these things. See how kind of weird it is? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yes.
See?
Yeah, that commentary again of like, oh, and this just happened, and this just happened, and here we are in this adventure, and there's no kind of rhyme or reason, just roaming around.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a meta commentary on like, yeah, some of these King Arthur stories are kind of lame because they don't make any sense. I'm going to tell you that by making this story that's kind of weird. It doesn't make sense sometimes. Mm-hmm. Bold move, right? But now, oh man, this is the wackiest thing of all time because Sir Sagamore comes out, right? Bedecked in a suits of armor, like his giant suit of tournament armor, right? And the horse is all armor, and he's got his big heavy lance, right? And Hank comes out in his tights with no hat.
Yep.
Right? He says the comfortablest of gymnast costume, flesh-colored tights from neck to heel, with blue silk puffings about my loins, and bareheaded. My horse was not above medium size, but he was alert, slender-limbed, muscled with watch springs, and just a greyhound to go. So he's fast, sleek, small horse, right? And he has no real weapon except for.
Oh, I love this.
This is great, right? So he's asking about the stuff, right? Where's your weapon? Blah blah. He pulls out a lariat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, what is happening? So his plan becomes clear, right? The plan becomes clear. At first, he does like pretend to, not be able to see him just for like giggles, I guess, to play to the crowd, right? He's like pretends that he can't see Sir Sagamore for a while, right? But there he goes. So he just like, we have a classic, right, where Sir Sagamore keeps charging at him, big heavy war horse, heavy armor, heavy lance, charging at him, and Hank basically just goes like, I'm imagining like a Bugs Bunny situation where he just like takes a step and leans to the side, and the horse just goes.
Yes. Thunders past. Yes.
Yeah. He just like keeps jumping out of the way, and the horse goes lumbering by, right? As we know that, in the horse is going to get tired, right? He's going to get more, Sir Sagamore, that is going to get more angry, right? And be more determined to keep charging and charging and charging. And Hank is just waiting.
Yep.
He's biding his time.
While Sagamore is getting angrier, right? Angrier, making more rash decisions here.
Yeah. Charging in more furiously every time, right? And this this is the greatest part. This is so fun. I was like giggling to myself as I was reading this because this is so hilarious, right? I was sitting on my horse at ease and swinging the great loop of my lasso in wide circles around my head. The moment he was underway, I started for him. And when the space between us had narrowed to 40 feet, I sent the snaky spiral of the rope cleaving through the air and then darted aside. And he just lassos Sir Sagamore right out of the saddle.
Yep.
Yoink.
And he's able to give a little commentary on this act too, where he goes, unquestionably, the popular thing in this world, right? This world is novelty. The whole point of all of the knight errantry, stories and tall tales, and well, you've never seen this, and this is how big this thing was, and it was bigger than last time. Like, it's all about that. He's applying it to this moment of going, yeah, they've never seen this before, right?
Yeah, they've never seen anything of this cowboy business before.
The cowboy business. Oh,
so I like it, right? And so, right, people kept trying to do this again, right? And he kept like just yanking them off. Yomp, yomp, yomp. People kept charging at him. He just kept getting them off there, right?
Well, he does say there was this interesting moment where the crowd went up and shouted encore, encore, and he said, I wonder where they got that word, but there was no time to cipher right on this.
Yeah, it's a French word, right? Where'd it come from? Not here yet. But yeah, so people just keep wanting an encore, and he keeps obliging them. And he just keeps sending out more and more knights, and he just keeps lassoing him right off the horse. Even the mighty Sir Lancelot himself, right? Boom, got him. Shaplow, right? But he's not done, right? He's not quite done. The crowd is, excited about this, right? We're all good. But he said, the victory is perfect. No other will venture against me. Knight errantry is dead. Now, it's not, because he's noticed Merlin, right? Sneaking in there, and he's challenged these people, right? And in order to fulfill the challenge, right, Merlin has stolen his lasso.
Old sleight of hand expert had stolen it.
Sleight of hand expert.
And the bugle is blowing, right?
Yeah. And so he's like, fine. So now, you're going to keep going, but you have no weapon. But the terms of the duel was you could bring whatever weapon you want. And if you happen to not have your weapon, it's on you, buddy. Sorry. It's not my fault. You don't have your weapon, even though I definitely stole it and it's under the seat right now. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. That's the argument Merlin makes, is like, well, you said bring whatever weapon you want, and it's not my fault that your weapon isn't here currently, right? Oh no. So he's like, all right, we have to go. We have to do it one more time. And the king even says, like, would you, the king doesn't want to sanction this, because he's like, well, this isn't even fair, because he doesn't even have a weapon, and you're gonna get into this jousting match without a weapon this last time, right? He's like, I can't do it. This is murder, right? You have to run away. And now we have another extraordinarily ridiculous scene occurring, because Hank's like, yep, we'll go. And he stands there while Sir Sagamore is charging him down, running, barreling down on him with his lance. The king and everyone else is saying, you have to run. This is surely murder. And then
you talk about out of nowhere, like
out of literal nowhere.
There's no pretense. Like, we are used to, at this point in this book, having us introduced to ideas, concepts, thoughts, new ways of thinking without any context. There's no pretense for this delivery of this sentence. There's absolutely no sign as to
zero
where this would come from.
No lead up, no hint, nothing.
Nope.
Right. No lead up at all. Never been mentioned once. Right. The sentence is, listeners, then he got within 15 paces of me. Then I snatched a Dragoon revolver out of my holster, There was a flash and a roar, and the revolver was back in the holster before anyone could tell them what had happened. There was a riderless horse plunging by, and yonder lay Sir Sagamore, stone dead.
Yep.
What? What do you mean, Dragoon revolver? What are you talking about?
He just had this the whole time.
He's had this whole time. This is a very strange intersection, right? This is like, first of all, we were introduced in the very opening chapter of the book to Hank in a museum where he met Mark Twain. The museum curator was remarking on a hole in the chainmail.
Yes.
Right? He said, like, oh, this must have happened later when somebody, stormed the castle or whatever. I think he made a Cromwell reference. I'm not sure. And Hank says something offhand like, no, I should know. I was there. Right?
Yep.
So we found out that is Sir Sagamore's mail shirt. Right? So we have this is our Chekhov's gun situation where literally, where we have been introduced to a thing, right? And then later on, we find out that thing is important, right? We find out the meaning behind it. We find out the whole thing. We've used the thing, right? Now, we also have this very strange intersection because this is also the most clear case of a Deus Ex Machina I've ever seen ever, right? In writing, which is the idea that like all of it, there's just like something magical that happens that saves the day, right? This is an old Greek theater term because they used to like bring in people on like machines, and usually it was like represented by the gods. But it's literally a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem in a story is suddenly or abruptly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence. The official definition. Ta-da!
This'll do it.
I bring to you Hank's Dragoon revolver. We have a rather interesting intersection of a Chekhov's gun and a Deus Ex Machina being in the same paragraph. Very weird, right? This is very extremely strange, right? And he just shoots him, right? Oh no. There was a hole through the breast of his chainmail, but they attached no importance to that little thing like that, as the bullet wound produces little blood. So they couldn't figure out how he did. It was magic, right? And then he stands there and waits and he says, I challenge anybody else who wants to.
No, not anybody. All.
Everybody.
Right? Is that at this point where he turns to not just anybody, he challenges all knights.
Yeah.
Come against him.
Yeah. Take it.
Or renounce it.
Right? Or I proclaim you recreant knights and vanquished. So that was what he said to them. And so some of them came, approximately 500. Right? And they just all scrambled in their saddles and took off charging. And he just starts blasting away, right? I snatched both revolvers from the holster, began to measure the distance, and calculate. Bang, 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 right? And now he has a problem, right? Because he does have very limited shots with the revolvers. They don't know that.
Nope.
But we do.
Yes.
Right. Some literary irony here. We know this. They don't. And on his last one, they, right. I was never so happy as when the ninth down man is I detected the wavering in the crowd, right. In the panic and the instant loss now. And so he raised both his revolvers and fired at the last one. And then they just ran away. Right. They're like, oh, okay, I'm just kidding. The day was mine. Knight errantry was doomed. The march of civilization had begun. And oh, by the way, Merlin, that loser, is
his stock was flat, right?
Yeah.
Again. I love how he adds that. Again.
Yeah, he just keeps rubbing it in there. Just like, like, take that, Merlin. So overall, that was a very abrupt chapter, right? We've done a lot of things in this chapter. It's gone nuts, right? So we're gonna have to see. We're close. We're on the very downhill here, I imagine, because the next chapter we stopped at a good place, right? The next chapter is called 3 years later.
3 years later.
So time is once again convoluted. We only have a few. I think we have maybe 2 weeks left of this.
Yeah. So.
if I calculate correctly, and then we'll be done. So we have to see. This is a big like climax event, though, right? This is like a big moment, impactful on a story here. So we're gonna see on the downhill slide here. What the long-awaited question? What, if any, will be the resolution to this story?
I have no idea. There have been times where I have, and we'll talk about this in our post book wrap up of like, I have thought I would be able to kind of come around the story and get ahead of it a few times and be like, oh, this is where but no, I haven't.
Hank keeps busting out Dragoon revolvers just randomly and wrecking my plan. Like, what?
Haven't the foggiest idea anymore. So,
and as we've said, like, Hank really is not a very dynamic character.
No.
Right. Hank is not really learning lessons, right? The things that he does learn, they seem to be very small, right? In comparison.
Oh, for
but
sure.
I think this is like a very, I think this is just like a bit of commentary from Twain too, like that Hank and modernity is just better.
Yeah.
Than old ways of doing things.
Well,
right? That seems to be like the general theme going on here. Like the old ways, the old world are just no longer necessary and don't really have anything to offer. Right? The modernity and like industrial revolution is the answer to a better world, according to Hank here.
I think what that is saying is, in comparison to the time, and this is, in comparison to the time that Hank is in, how much development is Hank expected to have?
That's true.
Right? In his thought processes, in his views, in his systems. If you do view modernity as being superior, he can't develop, right? He can't make changes here. And that these old ways of thinking, and it can also be construed as like, think of also how far you have come, how far the world has come at this point to see how ridiculous we were but a few hundred years ago.
I mean, in 1889, how ridiculous you were 30 years ago.
30, yes, exactly.
Right? Like that's you know what I mean? Like
yep.
I think Twain's looking at some of this as a not very far away in the past, right?
No.
Like not super far at all.
But him using
let alone
the
100
lens,
years ago.
Yeah, him using the lens of comparing to hundreds and hundreds of years prior. It's like, oh man, look at those people. And it's like, but a lot closer than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that is a bit of an interesting juxtaposition where like normally a character like this would undergo some sort of
for sure
change, like even a little one, right? Where Hank is like, nope, Hank is imposing the change on everybody else.
He is. He
kind of like the opposite bizarro character arc land, right? Like every other character is undergoing something because Hank is like imposing his will upon them, which that has some weird colonialist implications, but it's fine. Well,
we look forward to next week.
Yeah,
next time. Yes. Hey.
All right. Well, to wrap up here, I do have a Mark Twain quote of the week. I was waffling a bit.
Oh no,
on which one to pick. Right, based on the events of this chapter, couldn't really decide which one I thought fit the best. But I think at least I'm going to give Hank the benefit of the doubt here a little bit, right? And I'm going to say I'm going to pick this one for this week. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear.
Yeah.
Right. Say what you want. He did have to stare down a charging Sir Sagamore. Right. He did have to be somewhat composed.
Yes,
to deal
it looked
with
like he
all
had
of
it all
that.
under control in front of crowd, right?
Yeah. So we did have to do that, right? So
Bravo.
we'll at least give him that, right? So I don't think I've used that quote yet. I think it's getting very hard to make sure I have not. I keep checking the thing and being like, did I use this one? Oh no, I did. Oh, so I had to keep going back. So there we go. And also, it sort of parallels rather nicely with the haiku.
The haiku
of this week. Right.
Okay.
Right. So this one, a little pretext, right? I know it's been a while since we've done this. So this relates to what I talked about last episode with the watching my bad YouTube rabbit hole that I fell down.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it goes with the quote pretty nicely too. So here we go. Seeking new knowledge. Anxiety and fear build. Pain sears nerves and flesh.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. Hell.
Here you go. This is insect bite YouTube videos, right? Don't watch those and try to go to bed. Please don't. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. What?
Oh, I thought we left that last week. Oh my goodness. Okay.
We did, but it was so impactful that I had to write about it.
Much like the pain from an insect bite. It does keep
lingers on.
Lingers. Well, on that helpful tip, I think we can get in the show. Don't get bit by things. And keep Dragoon revolvers on you at all times. This is a lesson that I learned
apparently
from this. So,
yeah, there you go.
Take that into our coming week.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.